Welcome to NYNJPA Weather. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino, here to take you through all the wacky weather that impacts the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan areas. So let's see what's going on out there. NYNJPA Weather. We've been a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back, and just in time for a little bit of a light snow event for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. This is a surface map of tomorrow morning, and you could see a weak disturbance moving through the Great Lakes, and also there's a very weak surface boundary over the Carolina coast, with some precipitation developing over the southeast. Now, when we look at 500 millibars during this time period, there's a lot of interesting aspects to look at here. This is the NAM model from 12Z at Thursday morning once again. And notice a few things. First, let's go all the way back west over the west coast of California here. And basically what we have an interesting upper level low that's sitting off of California. Another trough is diving down through British Columbia. And the NAM wants to make this a very distinct feature. And what that does is that it amplifies the ridge that's sitting over the Rockies, and therefore amplifies the trough that's moving through the Great Lakes and eventually off the East Coast. The GFS and some other model guides is not as aggressive with that upper level low off of California, and so therefore the ridge is not as amplified, and therefore the trough is not as amplified. However, over the last couple of runs, the GFS and other model guides have started to come back towards the NAM, which basically is pretty rare for this winter up to this point. When we look at Thursday afternoon, there's a few aspects once again to look at. Again, notice that the ridge that's going to be over the plains at this point is still rather amplified. Meanwhile, we have air rushing down the plains into this trough. You have strong convergence and confluence at the base of this trough, and as a result, very strong divergence and diffluence as that air is rushing out of the base of the trough, which I have circled over Virginia and North Carolina. Now remember that disturbance that was moving over the Great Lakes. It's going to want to key in on that divergence and diffluence that's developing in the upper atmosphere and reposition itself in the area of greatest weakness, so it can develop faster and become a stronger low pressure system. By the time we head into Thursday evening, this is about 7 p.m., we have strong PVA driving into the basically southern New Jersey and the Delmarva coast, basically northern Mid-Atlantic. Now again, the other model guides, like the GFS for example, has a less defined vortmax moving over the Mid-Atlantic, and therefore the storm is flatter and further east. The NAM is a little bit stronger, and therefore producing a stronger area of low pressure and more enhanced precipitation. Also notice the divergence and diffluence once again off of the Mid-Atlantic coast. Why is this important? Well, notice here at 700 millibars, notice there's very strong mid-level forcing over the Mid-Atlantic, and especially over the Delmarva Peninsula. This is an indication that we're starting to develop an inverted trough, and what an inverted trough can do is focus precipitation to the north of this trough and keep precipitation going a little bit longer than what would normally be expected with a departing low pressure system. This is now being seen on the GFS, the Canadian, and the NAM. So the mid-level forcing is certainly there, and when we look at the evening hours, notice that there is very strong dry air advection to the south of that inverted trough. Notice how much moisture is being pulled over southern New Jersey and over Delaware. At the same time, that's also where the strongest lifting happens to be because of the mid-level forcing. And 850 millibars, you really see it very well defined here. I have it circled in a purplish kind of color here. We have a tightening of the thermal gradient at 850 millibars. And you notice that there's this little kink that's sitting over the Delmarva coast. That is the inflection of the disturbance transitioning itself towards the coast. So when we move towards 7 p.m. on Thursday evening, an 850 low has developed. The storm is starting to rapidly deepen, but it's also being forced east because everything to the west, notice that the ridge is now moving into Missouri. Remember, at the beginning of the day it was all the way over in Colorado, and now it's moving into Missouri, so this is obviously a very progressive pattern. But again, like I said, notice the packing that's developing from basically the New Jersey coast and the Delaware coast out into the Atlantic. That's where the best rising motion is going to be centered, so therefore that's where the heaviest precipitation will also be focused. And when we look at the surface map on the NAM, once again we see where is the heaviest precipitation focus, mostly out over the Atlantic, but we do have a little bit over southern New Jersey and Delaware. Now I think the NAM is overdoing the QPF here, mostly because of the points I was making with the GFS when you're looking at 500 millibars. I think this trough is going to be a little bit flatter, but not as flat as what the GFS is putting out there. And it all basically depends on how the system out over California develops. If it develops more towards the NAM solution, then areas over southern New Jersey could see around 4 or 5 inches of snow, because the storm would be closer to the coast and a better chance for heavier precipitation as this inverted trough really gets itself developed. However, I'm going with a little bit of a hybrid forecast here, taking the GFS and NAM, combining the two, and basically what we have is a snow map. Basically a trace to about half an inch of snow around New York City and northern central New Jersey, like Newark and areas of that, and back towards Trenton. From about Trenton southward through much of central New Jersey and the Philadelphia metro area, a half an inch to an inch, and over southern New Jersey down towards Cape May, Delaware, basically most of the Delmarva, about 2 to 4 inches of snow. So that's what we can expect with this fast moving low clipper. It's going to develop, kick off some snow showers, and then leave just as quickly. But there's going to be some interesting storms that are going to be developing over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned and I'll keep them covered.